o'clock. All right, let's make some noise. Get up and let's sing a little bit. I give thanks for the abundance in my life. I give thanks for the abundance in my life. I give thanks for the abundance as the Spirit flows among us. I give thanks for the abundance in my life. I give thanks for all the bounty in my life. I give thanks for all the bounty in my life. I give thanks for all the bounty as the love of God surrounds me. I give thanks for all the bounty in my life. I give thanks for all the treasure in my life. I give thanks for all the treasure in my life. I give thanks for all the treasure, and giving back is such a pleasure. I give thanks for all the treasure in my life. I give thanks for all the treasure. Giving back is such a pleasure. I give thanks for all the treasure in my life. Welcome.
Good morning and welcome, Unity family. It's great to see you here today, and thank you, Mark. That's one of my favorite songs, so
Me
fits
too.
in perfectly. So welcome to Unity. Welcome to those in our church. Welcome to those who are live streaming and those of us who are down at Westcott this morning. So my name is Kate, and I am here to be your platform assistant today. It's only my second time, so bear with me. Unity is a positive, progressive, practical approach to Christianity based on the teachings of Jesus and the power of prayer. Unity honors the universal truths in all religions and respects each individual's right to choose a spiritual path. And now for our mission statement. Unity of Syracuse inspires, awakens, and transforms lives through unlimited love, prayer, and service. I'd like to warmly welcome all of those joining us today, here and in spirit. We send our greetings and gratitude to all the beings that give and sustain us in our life together. Thank you for joining us on this path. Now let us rise to greet one another with a bow or a wave and remain standing for our statement of being. God is all, both visible and invisible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am an individualized expression of God. I am ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. All right. So it's our first Sunday of the month, so we've got some stuff to go over. Okay. So this month's power is zeal. The disciple is Simon the Canaanite. The color for October is orange. The location is in the back of the head. And October's affirmation is, I harness the power of my zeal and channel it towards my goals. And to celebrate October birthdays, if anyone wants to stand up so we can acknowledge you and sing you a little birthday song.
No
birthday
one?
No one?
It's to all those October people at home.
Right. So our YFM family is not here in the church with us this week. They're down performing some service activities on Westcott. We would like to invite you to join with them after service to go over to Westcott, check out the cultural fair over there, eat some good food, promote unity, talk to people about unity and affirmative prayer. So as we keep those children in our minds and every other children that we know, if we can just say this prayer together, may you be guided by love, justice, and compassion. Embrace your unique gifts and use them to create a more inclusive and just world. Walk boldly, knowing you are supported and empowered to make a difference. We have a flourishing and inspiring youth and family ministry. Now let us prepare our hearts and minds for today's daily word. And for Sunday, October 1st, today's daily word is prosperity. Practicing gratitude deepens my experience of prosperity. My life may be full of blessings. My family and friends, my home, my memories and experiences. But it can be easy to take it for granted if I focus more on what I'm missing than what I have. Being thankful, expressing my gratitude for my good, opens my heart. But it also opens my eyes to the many ways I am prosperous. I count my blessings, pausing to give thanks for each one. The more often I do this, the more feelings of gratitude will fill my heart, crowding out constricting feelings of scarcity, fear, or envy. From the serenity I feel in my heart to the peace that calms my mind, I am prosperous. As I greet each day with a prayer of thanks, my blessings abound. And the Bible verse from Psalm 36, verse 8. They feast on the abundance of your house, and you give them drink from the river of your delights. So today's daily word reading on prosperity and gratitude brought to mind the 1998 Bird Baylor picture book I once read, entitled The Table Where Rich People Sit. It's the story of the discovery the narrator, Mountain Girl, makes one evening as her family sits around their handmade, scratched up, old kitchen table. Mountain Girl in her worn-out shoes and her brother in his patched-up pants. The young girl laments how she lacks the nice new things the girls at her school have. She questions her parents about their jobs, their ambition, their lack of money. But slowly the conversation begins to change. Together, the seemingly impoverished family begins to count the value of the things they do have. And by the end of the story, Mountain Girl realizes that her family is actually quite prosperous in the things that matter in life. I feel that so often prosperity is used as a synonym for the dollar amount in your bank account. It's locked in with that quintessential American vision of the family with 2.5 kids, a dog, a house, and a white picket fence. But today I'd like to turn that on its head and reflect on how prosperous we are in ways we might not have thought of before. And so I ask us, how are we prosperous in our surroundings? How are we prosperous in our relationships with our family, with our friends, our colleagues, and then the strangers that we meet on our life journey every day? How are we prosperous in health? How are we prosperous with our talents? And finally, how are we prosperous in our faith? In connection with unity principle number 3, I like to leave you with this last thought. I affirm my mindset is the architect of my prosperity. I will design it with hope and optimism. And now for Unity's 5 basic principles. Unity's 5 basic principles are our guideposts, tested by experience, reminding us how divine presence unfolds through our lives. And now we open the space for anyone who would like to give a personal testimony to the power and grace of basic principles. Would anyone like to share? Leland's coming with the microphone.
I just have to share this today. Many years my brother has had a substance abuse problem, and so today he's going from the hospital into assisted living, and it's an answer to prayer. We've all been praying for years and trying to help him, and it's a very long story, but he was living, like he was a wonderful altar boy, and he went to college, and he worked all his life, but he chose alcohol, and it really took him down a very dark place. But because he had family and friend support this past month more than ever, and tough love, he was forced to go into assisted living. And so I just want to thank God, Unity, the power of prayer, because it's taken a long time, but I guess some people have to reach their bottom, and today the work begins. We're going to hope that somebody will go in from AA to where he's living and work with him, because he's not physically able to go to a rehab because he's on oxygen. So I just want to thank Unity and God. I would say it's all the principles, but thank you. And there's many miracles every day in my life. People with cancer are leading good lives and getting into recovery, and just joy every day. And I'm very grateful and can go along with you in prosperity in that. I'm grateful every day.
I just wanted to share something that was said to Mark and to me last week, and I think this represents Principle 3 and Principle 5. As we were hosting the chicken barbecue, a woman who had already paid for her chicken came back and said to us, and here's an extra $15, because when I look up and see that pride flag waving in the breeze, she said, I'm so grateful. And she shared something personal about her daughter and said, for a Christian church to be waving the pride flag and supporting everyone in love, which should be a Christian principle. I'm so grateful.
Unity was and is founded on prayer. The prayer chaplain serving today is Mina. In this box, a prayer chaplain is available to pray with you here after service if you would like. You can also call the Unity prayer line. I'll get to that in a second. That's coming up next. Jumping ahead. In this box are written requests we've collected this week. We invite you to add yours at any time in writing or in your heart. Written prayer intentions are sealed and held in confidence here for 30 days, then mailed to Silent Unity, where they are held in prayer for an additional 30 days. At Unity Village, the Silent Unity service has been holding prayer vigil for over 130 years. You can reach them day or night by calling 1-816-969-2000, and a chaplain will pray with you. At this time, we bless all of our prayer intentions and requests. Hold your prayer in your heart. Know that it's already answered.
morning, all. So, as we think on these written prayers, as we think on the prayers in our own hearts, and as we pray for others, we thank Divine Creator God for the reminder that our prayers are always answered, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They are always answered. And the goal for answering these prayers is for our best growth, health, happiness, trust, love, and peace. We know and we affirm that somehow, some way in our lives, day at a time, our prayers are answered and we are filled with love and peace. Such gifts. Speaking of the 5 principles, there they all are. So thank you, God, for all this and so much more. Amen.
And now we'll have a nice song from Mark, and CYBIE will come up to speak after.
All right, everybody knows this song, so please stand up and sing along with me. Let's start at the very beginning, a very good place to start. When you read, you begin with ABC. When you sing, you begin with Do, Re, Mi. Do, a deer, a female deer. Re, a drop of golden sun. Mi, a name I call myself. Fa, a long, long way to run. So, a needle pulling thread. Fla, note to follow. So, tea, a drink with jam and bread that will bring us back to do. Do, a deer, a female. Come on, you can be louder than that. Ray, a drop of golden sun. Me, a name I call myself. Fa, a long, long way to run. So, a needle pulling thread. La, a note to follow. So, tea, a drink with jam and bread that will bring us back to do.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. This is a little high for me. Okay. Can you hear me okay then? It's picking up? Great. All right, so the name of my talk is Let's Start at the Very Beginning. And Mark and I said, that's a great song to start with, because today we're starting to, thank you, Leland. We're starting a series, a series on the 5 principles. And so we're starting at the very beginning today. And of course, if we really go to the very beginning, the first principle is God is all. And of course, if we were really going back to the very beginning, God is all. And so we're doing that. So good morning, everybody. And I'm so glad to be up here. And I've got 2 talks smushed into one because I've got to do the first and the second principle. So, but they're very much embedded within each other. So, first of all, the history of the 5 principles may surprise you. Charles Fillmore did not write them, neither did Myrtle. Their great-granddaughter did, Connie Fillmore, and she wrote them in 1990. So 100 years after the founding of Unity, these principles were written down. She was challenged to write an article and succinctly state the core beliefs of Unity. And she must have been divinely inspired because, wow, she did it all. But let's just be clear that these are not new ideas that Charles or Myrtle came up with or that Connie honed in on. They are perennial truths, and they are just packaged in these 5 principles for us. So, first of all, what's a principle anyway? Well, it's not like a rule that you have to follow or We don't believe that you have a belief that you have to embrace in order to be part of this church. Ed, do you remember one day when we were sitting here and somehow a dog had gotten, the windows were open, it was summertime, and there was a dog barking right outside that window, and Ed leans over to me and says, "No dog must spoke in here." So it's not like, we don't have a dogma that you have to believe in order to be a part of this adventure called unity. But a principle is something that is unchanging, and it's impersonal. So it's like the principle of aerodynamics, okay? It's unchanging. It was there before we discovered it or knew anything about it, and it will always be there in terms of this physical world. Once we learn about it, then we can learn how to use it and how to cooperate with it. And that's like the principles. It's unchanging, it's foundational, and it's impersonal. And that's what we say about these truths. If you go to different churches, different unity churches, you will find that there are different versions of the 5 principles. There's always 5, but there are different versions of them. It's not the words or the language, it's the essence of each principle that matters. And so the essence is the truth underneath each principle. So the first 2 principles, God is all, and I am a divine spark of that God energy. Okay, those first 2 principles, God is and I am. And he might, I don't know if you could put them up or not, those principles. I don't work well with technology, so, all right. But the first 2 principles are the what. They're the what, okay? This is what unity is all about. Those are the foundations. The second 2 principles are the so what. So what? You know, you've got those 2, so what? Well, how am I going to access, what do they mean to me? How can I access them? What do you mean there's a power I can use, or I'm part of that power? So the 3rd and 4th principle tell you how to access that power and presence. And then the 5th principle is the now what. Once I know these things, now what? You got to use them. You got to use them. Practice them. Bring them into action. Live them. So the first principle I will begin with, and it is, this is from our website, and I really like this, our Unity website. God is spirit, the loving source of all that is. God is the one power, all good, everywhere present, all wisdom. God is divine energy, continually creating, expressing, and sustaining all creation. In God, we live and move and have our being. In unity, some other ways we speak of God are life, light, love, substance, principle, law, universal mind, and you could think of a dozen others, I'm sure. So, you know the story about the little child that was drawing, and the teacher walks over and says, "What are you drawing?" And he says, "I'm drawing a picture of God." And she says, "Well, nobody knows what God looks like." And he says, "Well, they will in a minute." Well, that little story is, you know, we each have a picture of God. We are each drawing every moment a picture of God for us, right? So God is not a concept, however. God is not a concept, but it's where we must start. We cannot start from the highest consciousness. We evolve through our stages. So my nephew David is here. My grandnephew David is with us this morning. And David, you don't know it, but you're in this talk. Because I remember when we were in the car one day, and we were driving along, and I said something, I might have mentioned the word God, and you said, "I don't believe in God." He was a teenager at the time. And I said, "Oh, really? Tell me about God." And he told me a little bit about what he thought God meant. And I said, "Well, I don't believe in the same God you don't believe in." And really, and that's the truth. Most of us grew up with a concept of God like Santa Claus. Santa Claus held all the goodies. He also kept a list of who's naughty or nice. And if I did the nice thing, I might get the thing that I wanted. All right? And similarly, the image of God was very like Santa Claus. Big white beard, right? Big man, big beard, somewhere up north, North Pole, or up way north. And so, white, red suit, white robes, what difference? So, but the truth is that served us when we were young. When we don't understand something, we have to make it relatable. We have to bring in a concept that we know, and then that's how we handle something. But we outgrow that concept of God. Unfortunately, many people have outgrown the concept of God, think they've outgrown God and the need for a God. And so the baby goes out with the bathwater. But if our consciousness evolves, our understanding expands, unity offers us a God that is infinite, eternal, unfathomably huge. It goes on forever. And so our understanding will evolve and go on forever. We will never, with our finite human minds, understand the infinite mind of the Creator. So, the first principle, which says God is, and it's equally present everywhere. One presence and one power, as the universe and as my life. Not just in my life, as my life. I am, and that takes us to the second principle, which we'll get to, I am an expression, an extension of that divine source, and therefore my life is the life of creation expressing through me, individualized. We say that every Sunday. I am an individualized expression of God. And so, but God is a paradox, okay? We can't define God, because once we try to define anything, we limit it. All of a sudden, it's this, not that. And so it brings into, we're separate from, but we're not. But again, we have to work with our human minds. So the paradox is that the experience of God is immanent and transcendent. It's both indwelling in each one of us and everywhere present. It's principle and it's personal. In other words, its principle is impersonal, like the sun. The sun doesn't choose who it's going to shine on, who it's going to warm up. It just shines because that's what it is. And that presence and that power that is equally present for everyone. It's also personal. It's felt as a loving presence. We can have a relationship to it, just like Jesus did. Jesus experienced God, many times called God not Father, but Abba, which is more like a term of endearment meaning daddy. Okay? So it was, he had this he knew he was God, that God was expressing in him, and yet he often called God a daddy. It's both visible and invisible. That's how we start our statement of being. God is all, both visible and invisible. In other words, it's appearing in form or manifestation at the same time that it is the unformed or the pure, unlimited potential. And so it's both and. So the Old Testament God was the God that was punishing, judgmental, keeping that list of who's naughty and nice, even vindictive. And yet in the New Testament, when Jesus has come to correct the perception of the divine, so you see, it says in the Bible that we were made in the image and likeness of God. And Mark Twain said, we were made in the image and likeness of God. Man was made in the image and likeness of God, and being a gentleman, he returned the favor. We have created God in our image. Vengeful, jealous, angry, vindictive, and so on. Self-centered, wanting something from, that's what has happened we've created this concept of God that is not anything like what we know as God to be. But Jesus came and he walked the earth to correct the perceptions. And so Eric Butterworth used to write in his couple of his books, he wrote that a little boy in Sunday school who heard about the God of the Old Testament and then the God of the New Testament that is loving and kind and compassionate and all forgiving, he said, boy, God got better as he got older. So as we say that, our beginning statement each week, God is all, both visible and invisible, one presence, one power. What is it? One presence, one mind, one is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. Well, perfect? Do you ever wonder about that? Perfect life? Is your life perfect? Why are we saying this? Are we just trying to tell ourselves something that isn't true, or like put icing on a mud pie? I don't know. It was just, no. But I think it was Joel Goldsmith who wrote, maybe in The Infinite Way, about the orange grove. Okay, so when the orange grove, what's the abundance and the prosperity in the orange grove is in the fruit, right? So the fruit, that's the orchard owner, that's what is his, his prosperity, right? And so one day if there's a frost and it destroys all of the oranges, is his prosperity gone? Well, temporarily, and certainly it appears so. But is the fruit the perfect life? It's the tree. The tree is still alive, it is still, and it will grow more fruit. And so it's like that in our lives. It doesn't mean that we're going to get everything we want when we want it, and there won't be any challenges or problems. But if we look that there is a life force underneath all of that, current running through it, then we know that that is the perfect life, and we can rely on that. It's the perfect intelligence that keeps the planets in their orbits. If there's an intelligence that has designed the water cycle and all of life itself, can we not rely on it to help us with our measly little problems? I think we can. So, all right, where was I going with that? Okay, perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. So God is that perfect substance. It is always there. It is always running through our lives. So we move over to from that principle that God is and God is all that is, into I am a divine expression of that one. So the divinity in me is a spark of the divine as me. So Jesus was the first that we looked to who realized his oneness with God. He said, I and the Father are one. The work that I do is the Father does through me. And so he acknowledges that it is not him, the human, it is him in complete consciousness with the divine that does the work that he did. And he told us, this and greater things you will do. Not from our small selves, but from the self within us, the divine self that can be connected so much in consciousness that we would never see error, we would never see illness, and we would be able to do what Jesus did. So, in many traditional Christian churches, there is the doctrine, I don't know what you would call it, of original sin. That is not biblically based. That is something that was created by man. And long before Matthew Fox wrote his book, Original Blessing, there were many who knew that we were not born in sin. Sin means missing the mark. We all sin at that. We miss the mark. We don't know who we are. We don't live from who we are. We're missing the mark all the time. It is not the same as this original sin where we thought we were bad and had some deep wound or deep stigma that we would have our whole lives, and that Jesus was somebody that we had to try to be like but could never be like. But Jesus came and said, "Ye are gods. Ye are the light of the world." He told us, that same spark that is in me that is fully realized is also in each one of you. Shine your light. You are the light. So I saw this little video on YouTube quite some time ago, and it's called The Stethoscope. Anybody seen it? So a man is walking down the street by himself, and he's eating a cookie or something, and on the ground is a stethoscope, and he looks and he picks it up and he looks around. There's nobody there. There's nobody that could have dropped it and nobody he could ask. So he picks it up and looks at it, and he considers it, and then he thinks, well, he puts it in his ears, and he's got what do you call that end, Leland? The bell? Interesting. He takes the bell, and he looks at his cookie, and he puts it on the cookie, and all of a sudden you hear, "Sugar, sugar," and it goes on with that song, and he's just like, whoa. So he's just standing by a lamppost, and he's kind of leaning over, and he takes the bell, and he puts it on the lamppost, and it says, "Lean on me," and he's like, whoa. So then he walks over to a stone on the ground, and he puts it on that, and it says, "I am a rock." And so all these songs, everything he puts it on the fire hydrant and says, "Who let the dogs out?" It's great, okay? So he does all this. But he's got this in his, the stethoscope is in his ears, and he looks at it. He puts it on his heart. And he hears Handel's Messiah. Hallelujah. And then it's such a great little video. It's just like, it takes your breath away. Well, that parallels my experience coming to Unity for the first time. That was more than 30 years ago. And I heard a message here that resounded within me. And that resonated with the truth of my being. I felt like I was being seen as a spark of divinity that somehow I knew I was. I really think that when we hear a truth that resonates deep inside, we feel a sense of immense joy, a release of love and light from within, and a release from shame, blame, guilt. We feel a sense of freedom, unbridled joy. I felt that. And I want to emphasize this with a poem from Rumi. If you knew yourself for even one moment, if you could just glimpse your most beautiful face, maybe you wouldn't slumber so deeply in that house of clay. Why not move into your house of joy and shine into every crevice? For you are the secret treasure bearer and always have been. Didn't you know? You are the secret treasure bearer. You bear the treasure of divinity. It is deep within you. It's in your DNA. Divine nature always. I think that we could measure truth by an internal compass, and Alan Cohen wrote a book called Joy is My Compass, and he said, use joy as a way to navigate through the world. And so we could measure truth by an internal compass of our feelings. So if we go back to childhood for a moment, and you're told by a parent or a teacher or Sunday school teacher, someone that they're telling you did something wrong, maybe you got yelled at or scolded, you're told something that brought you shame. How did that feel? Awful, terrible. Why? Because it's not a vibrational match with the truth of who you are. And you intuitively know it. You know it's not the truth of you. It's a lie. Now you go to visit your grandmother, and she hugs you and says you're beautiful, and she delights in seeing you. How does that feel? Fabulous. Oh my goodness. Because it's the truth of you. You are so worthy of being loved. And that's the way I felt when I came to Unity for the first time. A sense of having been recognized as a beautiful being, worthy and lovable. And over the years of studying and trying to live from these truth principles, I have come to see that everyone is a beautiful, worthy, lovable child of the Most High. And maybe not in behavior, maybe not outwardly, but we know that that truth lives within them as it is buried under that clay of negativity, of conditioning, of the stories that have been told to them about themselves, or just neglect. So as I endeavor to live from this Christ principle, this Christ presence that is within me, and to see it in you, life gets better. It gets better and better, and I find more joy in service to others because it serves the Christ in me, and I live from my truth of being. As Jacob said last week, when I serve others from a place of love and joy, I serve myself. We are one. Here's another Rumi poem. Though we seem to be sleeping, there is a spirit that directs the dream that will eventually startle us back to the truth of who we are. We probably are getting a lot of those little nudges, but we ignore them. Recently, I listened to an interview with a spiritual teacher named Jennifer Howe. She said, at the deepest part of ourselves, inside your DNA, is a certain frequency, the remembrance that you were God's idea. You were creation's idea. Infinite wisdom knew you should be here with all your skill sets and everything you've ever been through to be able to express onto the planet the unique expression of God that you are. So we must live in a sense of wonder that we're both human and divine. And we are always in that process of evolving toward functioning more and more from the divine and integrating it with our human. We are fully human and fully divine. It is not either or. It's both and. And when the human self and the divine self come together, they are not making music. They are music. Hafez says, I am a hole in a flute that the Christ's breath moves through. Listen to this music. St. Francis says, I am an instrument. We are instruments. And have we blocked the hole through which the Christ breath will breathe through us? Let us open it. Jesus said, you are the light of the world. We can only be that light when we recognize it within us. When we live from our Christ nature, we're not expressing love in the world. We are love. And just like the sun can't help but give warmth and heat and light, when we are love, we can't help but give love, compassion, kindness, forgiveness. And when connected to our divine self, and we let it come into the world through our individual and unique instrument that we are, we feel fulfilled and life becomes more easeful. If you do something from the soul, you feel a river moving through you. And one final poem for this second principle. Knowing who we are, an extension and expression of this divine source. There is a beautiful creature living in a hole you have dug. So at night, I set fruit and grains and little pots of wine and milk beside your soft earthen mounds, and often I sing to you. But still, my dear, you do not come out. I have fallen in love with someone who is hiding inside of you. We should talk about this problem. Otherwise, I will never leave you alone. And the truth is, we are never left alone. So let's take a moment to feel that oneness. Because God is in us like the ocean is in the wave. When I say we're an individualized expression, it's like the ocean expresses on the surface as a wave. And the waves can look at each other, but they are divinely connected underneath to the wholeness. And so we'll use that image as we move into a time of meditation. So closing the eyes. And if we had a stethoscope, we could close the ears and bring the bell to the heart. Moving inside, we feel the breath, this beautiful breath. It comes in, it moves out, just like the waves that come to the shore. In breath, out breath. Now as you breathe in, picture the breath creating a wave at the surface of the vast and infinite ocean. And with the out breath, see it going back to source. So each breath, expressing and moving back to source. Coming into being and moving back into oneness. The dance of the human that is still an expression of the divine. Each breath, feel yourself being breathed into being. And with the out breath, relax into the depths of the sea of God's love. And so keep your focus on that breath and move into your heart space and feel your oneness with the allness of God. And now take that in breath and feel it expressing as your body right here in this room, on this bench. And with the out breath, feel the weight of the body, the form. And the next in breath, open the heart space. Feel the love. And with the out breath, spread it out into this room. And then open your eyes to see the sparkles of love around you. Namaste. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
as instruments of God. So thank you. Giving and receiving are one and the same. We encourage you to visit our website to sign up for electronic giving at unitysyracuse.org. Now we pause and reflect on the abundance of blessings that have freely been given to us. May these offerings, given from the heart, filled with gratitude and compassion, be a testament to our commitment to love and transformation in our faith, in our community, and the wider world. May they be multiplied and lifted as we use our good to create a more harmonious world. Together we affirm, love as me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and that all that I receive. Thank you, God. You are my source. I have a note here that says announcements will be done by Natasha. Does anyone have any announcements for the upcoming week?
For those of you who signed up for the metaphysical, physical workshop or mini workshop next Sunday, I suggest you bring lunch or a snack. Oh, I'm sorry. Got it. I forgot about cyberspace. I just suggest that you bring your lunch or snacks to share. And it's meant to be fun. So hopefully it will be fun for you and not terribly serious. What it's about is how to learn to think metaphysically. So I'm not letting you look things up, folks. The sign-up sheet is on the bulletin board.
You may have seen in Constant Contact this week that there is a council circle this coming Friday. I believe it's at 5:30. Yeah. So what the topic is, I'm not entirely sure, but it's a council circle. So please come and share. And actually there's a link in Constant Contact that Jacob has put where he talks about sort of what is a council circle and how to prepare yourself to come.
All right, I think we're set on announcements. I know that there's a bulletin board downstairs that you can also check for more information, so feel free to do that, stop by and check it out. Please remember our prayer chaplain will be here at the front of the sanctuary to hold space for prayer. Let's keep that sacred and enjoy each other's company downstairs for fellowship. Let us go forth with this benediction, our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light. We are the love. Jesus, we are the love. The power of God protects us. We are the power. The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence. Wherever we are, God lives, and all is well.
a moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow, to take each moment and live